Hi, and welcome to Chapter 6 of the Director of Surgical Services Recruitment Toolkit. Let's review how we got here. In past chapters, we've discussed a quick start guide for the beleaguered talent acquisition professional, how to do the search yourself, and its alternative, outsourcing the project to a search firm. We've covered what to look for in a candidate, questions to ask and not ask the candidate in the interview. We ended with an emphasis on the importance of the hiring executive in the process. Now, you like a strong candidate, and it's time to put this process to bed. How do you close the deal on a director of surgical services? This is where the real fun begins. I hope you haven't had the experience of an ideal candidate slipping through your fingers. But let's be honest, you have. Let's try to fix that. While we can't engineer all the risk out of the closing process, I'm going to take you through 5 trial closes in order and tips and tricks related to the offer package, including the most important thing to know. Okay, so you had a great site visit and your hiring executive spoke to the candidate on the phone about the challenges and opportunities for the operating room. Maybe even picked her up at the airport and definitely showed her around the operating room. Now what? Are you surprising the candidate with a fantastic offer package when she touches down in her hometown? Definitely not. Start here. Call the candidate and ask, what is your interest level in our opportunity on a scale of 1 to 10? Let the candidate answer. She may not want to hurt your feelings, so she might gross up the score a little, but anything lower than a 7, it's probably best to put a diplomatic end to the interview process. But an 8 or 9 is encouraging. At this point, follow up with, what would make it a 10? This becomes the variable that you get to solve. Frequent examples are, I couldn't find a house for my family to live in, and that's a relatively simple problem to solve. So again, 7 or lower, let the candidate move on. 8 or higher, solve for the variable, and simultaneously move to step 2. Step 2, remember the mnemonic device, house, spouse, kids? Ask your candidate these questions again. Do we need to find your spouse a job? How did the schools look like for your kids? Often these brief questions will reveal answers that have been thought through over hours and hours of deliberation and soul searching. So help them resolve anything and everything within your power. Step 3 of the trial close progression is, money aside, is this the job for you? If this position provides for professional growth for your candidate, first of all, you need to have that. But second, those things represent an increase in earning power over the long term. So making sure your candidate sees professional growth in your position will take the pressure off your cash offer later in the process. Step 4, fear of change. This is a real bugaboo. Many times, this is where you lose a candidate for which all the other boxes are checked. If they're not asked the fear of change question, they'll just ghost you, and you won't know why. Fear of change is normal, of course, and your candidate will likely be relieved at your empathy of their fear. Ask it this way. Joining us will double your professional network, but saying goodbye is always hard. How are you doing with fear of change? Simple. Step 5, counteroffer. Ask your candidate how they will react when they go to resign and their current boss presents them with a new title, a new salary, and even a new place on the organizational chart. The important concept here is to let the cat out of the bag. By that, I mean lessen the pop of the giant counteroffer reveal. Say it like this. You're going to be counteroffered. We know how valuable you are. We see it. Your current boss is going to see it when presented with your resignation letter. What are you going to say to the counteroffer? There are 2 wrong answers from your candidate here. The worst is, I owe it to my current employer to be given the opportunity to counter. Yikes. Second worst answer here is, my employer doesn't do counteroffers. That's just a case of not knowing they do. Every company counteroffers their best talent. Your candidate just didn't know it until now. But many times you'll hear, my resignation is final, and that will give you peace of mind. Finally, you have now passed the 5 trial closes and you can give the offer. Here are 3 tips and tricks for the offer package. First, Do not give a range of base salary. Your candidate will only hear the high number. A range of 140 to 175 is only 175 in the mind of your candidate. You can say our incumbent made 140,000 or it starts at 140,000. This gives you freedom to escalate on your own terms without them having an expectation you may not be able to fulfill or use as further bargaining when and if the negotiation starts going south. And that brings us to the most important thing for you to know: how to anchor a candidate. It is important psychologically for your candidate to be expecting something throughout the interview process and then for you to offer something just a tick higher. Under promise and over deliver. So the number you want to quote is the very lowest you can and still not turn your candidate off. The final tip is to gross up your offer by explaining the value of the total package. Your offer may have a base of 150, a signing bonus of 10, educational reimbursement of $2,500, and now you can say your package is $162,500, and here's how that breaks down. So those are the 5 trial closes and the 3 tips and tricks in offering a package to the candidate that will help you close the deal. Click in the show notes for our one-pager, How to Onboard a Director of Surgical Services, and look for Chapter 7 in the Director of Surgical Services Recruitment Toolkit, How to Retain Your Director of Surgical Services. Good luck and keep up the great work.